Hello, good evening and welcome to the regular board meeting of the St. Peter's School Board. It's Monday, September 18th, 2023, and we are in the St. Peter Community Center Governor's Room. Welcome. First thing we'll do is call the meeting to order. And if anyone in the audience would care to speak, please make sure you get your name on the card to Sarah so that we can consider that request in about 2 minutes. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we need to consider and adopt the agenda.
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The agenda is adopted. Sarah, any requests? Next up is the approval of the consent agenda items. These are all listed in the board packet and the packet in front of us. Need to consider approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any items that we wish to discuss?
No. I just really felt like I needed to say that.
Yeah, thank you. Tracy has none. Does anyone else have any?
I don't either.
Okay.
I'm glad to.
Yeah.
Good. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda items as included in the board packet. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. It's time for the student spotlight. We have a student council report tonight as well.
Yeah, we do. I just want to introduce everybody to Kira Dunn and thank her for coming tonight. We actually have co-presidents again this year. Molly Leonard is leading the group with Kira. She was homesick today, so she couldn't be here, unfortunately. But I'm excited that we've got some student representatives who are excited, is one way to put it anyway, to come to the school board meetings. So we've got that lined up for this year. Kira is the daughter of Jim and Ginger Dunn, and so far, the student council is doing a great job. So I guess you're doing the student council report first, and then we're doing the swearing.
Perfect, sounds good.
Excuse my attire. I
Welcome,
have to
Kira.
run to a soccer game.
Can I go?
Yeah,
Sorry.
go for it. Yeah, welcome to the meeting.
Thank you. So right now we're just hard at work on planning our homecoming events for this year. Actually today we had our banner drop, which is how we announced the candidates for homecoming king and queen to the student body. So that was pretty exciting. And that was our first official homecoming event for this year. Other than that, we're planning events for like coronation during the game. Something we call Friday Fun Day, which is just like fun activities for the student body. We do an early release schedule the Friday before the homecoming game and then put on like fun activities and then like a volleyball and football tournament for everybody to participate in as well. Anything else? Are there any like other questions about it specifically?
Homecoming is next week.
Yes, Friday, September 29th is when the game is, and then our dance is taking place that following Saturday. So,
Who do you play?
Belle Plaine, I believe. So yeah, should be a good game and all that.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. This is going to be the best part of your week. Every week you have a meeting.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah, good answer. Awesome. That's it for the spotlight.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have our action items. First up on the agenda is to consider the approval of student representatives to the school board for 23-24. We just welcomed you.
That's true.
And that was the official. So now we need to consider approval.
Yes. So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Kira Dunn and Molly Leonard as student representatives to the school board for this year. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Welcome.
Welcome again.
Officially, no backing out now.
The next one doesn't involve you, we promise. Consider certification of preliminary 2023 levy. Megan is here to talk to us. Hi, Megan.
It's very exciting stuff. So as you know, every year we have to certify our levy in September. So this year, as the numbers are being reported with MDE right now, we have a 7.13% increase to the levy. So that is a very high number in comparison to the last number of years. It is coming about as a result of a number of things. So one of the biggest factors is our market values in our community have increased by $250 million. And so that's a huge driving component in how they calculate the levy and how they look at levy and aid. Along with that, because our student estimates are decreasing, then our market values per pupil increase. So because we have the increase in market value and the decrease in student numbers, when MDE does their calculations, we are given a revenue number and they split it between levy and aid. Last year we had an aid portion, and this year with those new corresponding rates, quite a few of our categories we lost the aid and we are solely levying for those categories. So as they continue to run actuals in future years, if we increase in students, we might gain some of that corresponding aid back, but at this point, the majority of those, or a lot of those categories have switched to just levy and no aid. So that is one of the big factors driving that. And then one of the other components is prior year adjustments. So last year when we had our levy, we had almost $400,000 in negative adjustments as they recalculate prior years 1, 2, 3 years back. They continue to rerun numbers with students and with expenditures, and so we had a negative adjustment of almost $400,000. This year it's closer to $200,000, so that makes up about 40% of our increase as well. So there's that component too. With that being said, we are recommending that the school board levies the maximum amount. This is typical, this is what we have historically done because MDE continues to run their calculations. If they find an error that they made or adjustments they have to make, or if something that we missed needs to be adjusted, levying to the max allows them or us to make those adjustments. If we don't levy to the max and we set a number, because you would have to pick a number that you want to levy to, then we might miss out on revenue that we could possibly have. So that is our recommendation. If you have further questions, some of the more specific numbers, in your board packet you'll see a comparison of market values over the last number of years, which would include referendum market values and adjusted net tax capacities. There should be a document that compares the last number of years looking at the levies. So it's broken down by general fund, community service, and debt service. And then the last one is a comparison of last year to this year that would just show how some of those splits between levy and aid ended up increasing our levy for this year. So there's a lot of more specific numbers in the board book, but just general picture that increased market value, decreased student numbers, and then prior year adjustments are the big factors that are causing our 7.13% increase. So our recommendation is to levy to the maximum. Do you have any questions on the levy process, on the specific numbers in the board book? Anything I can answer?
So this has to be then approved officially in December?
Yep, so we will come back in December and have the truth and taxation meeting and approve the final number. But this is our chance to sort of either set the maximum or set a cap if that is the route that we would choose to go.
So I'm always trying to understand the school finance just a little bit more all the time. And
Yeah.
so when we talk about like our community, how can I say this? Like our community value, right? Is that more like the net tax capacity? Like, and does that play into like, where does that come into play in your columns? Is that more like the net tax capacity? Is that kind of where that would come into play? Like, can you
Yep. So
talk
when
to me a little bit on that?
When you look at market value, that is the market value of all of the parcels within our district. So it includes homes, it includes farms, it includes commercial buildings. So each of these things is a different calculation. So referendum market value, some of the things in the levy are based on referendum market value. That is the market value, but it excludes cabins, so seasonal properties, as well as ag land. So a few of the components are based on referendum market value. The majority of them are based on adjusted net tax capacity. So it looks at all of those same parcels that were included in the market value, but depending on what it is, if it's a house, if it's a commercial property, they get assessed at a different value. So homes get taxed less than a commercial property. So the adjusted net tax capacity is those same parcels, but with the adjustments. And then they also factor in a sales ratio. So they compare, they factor in the sales ratio for what a home is assessed at or what a property is assessed at versus what it actually sold for, because different assessors across the state will assess properties differently. So they factor that in for all districts across the state to make sure that if our assessors are assessing differently than assessors in Minneapolis, that we're still sort of receiving levy versus aid on a similar playing field. Because if our assessor would do high or low, that might benefit us or hurt us. So that's why they try to include that. So it kind of depends on what you're looking for when you're looking at like the value of our community.
Well, I'm trying to understand like how like, I'm just gonna pick on like those new apartment buildings, right?
Yep.
That probably increases our community value, right? Because we have more people here. But, though, not picking on those people, but said people that live in there aren't paying any property tax or anything to our community, and maybe there's some people coming to our school. I'm not saying we don't want those apartment buildings here, goodness gracious, not saying that, but do you know what so that contributes to our community value, right? But then does that in a way like affect the amount of compensatory revenue we get? Is it like a backwards kind of thing to us a little bit too?
Well, it also would depend on if the people moving into those apartment buildings would bring students. So that's one of the things that we have talked about a little bit, is that our market value is increasing, but we're not necessarily seeing students growing at the same rate because the families moving in aren't necessarily bringing kids in with them.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that's hurting us at this point. And hopefully, as we continue to build those properties, if we have families moving in with students, it would definitely benefit us in the long run.
So we just would want to have lots of things going on in the community. Sorry.
I do think about, I think about it this way. The people that live in apartments are paying the owner of that building in their rent dollars, and the owner of the building is paying taxes for all of them.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yeah, because they get a
we're
rent
getting that taxes.
credit tax.
I'm just trying to talk this out. Maybe I shouldn't do it right now, but
No,
you
you're
know,
fine.
just trying to like understand this whole like how the pie is going, and you know, because our compensatory went down, so I'm trying to figure out like how this all is working. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the compensatory is based on the percentage of students who receive free and reduced price lunch. So if we have fewer families that are, well, either filling out the form or fewer families that are eligible, that affects the amount of compensatory that we get, and title, and other federal dollars.
Okay.
Megan, is there any adjustment made to tax exempt properties? Because our community is probably higher than most in tax exempt property.
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to that. What do you mean by that?
Why, you know, you mentioned there's some adjustments based on different assessors, et cetera. Well, if you look at the amount of buildings in the community, I would say we probably have a higher number than most communities, especially in the surrounding area, that are tax exempt. And I don't know if there would be a way that it could be figured
That-
where there would be an adjustment.
That is included in the adjustment for the net tax capacity.
Okay.
And the market value
Yeah.
wouldn't matter. The market value wouldn't be impacted by whether they were tax exempt or not, or what?
Well, it depends which of
Sure,
those
sure.
formulas they're using, because each
Yeah.
funding source uses
Mhm.
one of these, but if it's on the net tax capacity, that's figured in.
Because we have, you know, State Hospital, Gustavus, right? All of
Yeah.
those areas.
When we went to that one, like, I don't know if it was phase 2, phase 3, where they talked about the funding, I don't know who was that did that presentation, but she talked about school funding, and basically they take all this information and it gets thrown into this big computer, and then it just kinda like does all these things, and then it just pops out a number. But I get what you're saying, right? Like, how is that thrown into that big computer? How is that factored in? And that's kind of what I was trying to get at with not picking on the apartment buildings. I know that
No,
could get
no.
taken out of context, but I'm trying to figure out like how all those things factor into the funding.
Yeah. Well, in that case, the owner of the apartment building.
Yeah, I know, I
Oh,
got
okay.
that part
No,
now.
like the whole value of
Yes,
the building is a
Yes.
lot.
Mhm.
Now, if
Yes.
it's a TIF district, gets into a whole nother thing.
oh,
Tax increment financing, so they're
Oh.
paying at a lower value for a number of years.
oh, gotcha, yes, okay. Oh, gotcha.
I'll make a motion that we levy to the max. I believe that's the way we're supposed to say it.
I'll second that.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yep.
Yes,
So, all of these numbers of all of these formulas, it doesn't change the amount of money that we get, because we set the levy at a dollar amount. What these formulas do is determines how is that spread on everyone in the community. Our dollar amount's whatever we set it at. How much you pay as an individual depends on these formulas.
and it depends on how much the state's gonna give us versus how much is gonna be taxed.
Correct. And this year the state's giving us less, so more goes to the community.
And Tracy likes apartment buildings.
Especially if they have businesses in the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, right. So we had a motion, sorry, did we have a second?
Yes.
Yeah, second.
We have a motion and a second to consider certification of the preliminary 2023 levy to the maximum allowable amount. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We've certified the preliminary 2023 levy to the maximum allowable value. Thank you, Megan. Action item number 3 is consider the approval of a master agreement with the food service unit for 2023 to 2025.
The HR committee met with the food service group. I paused there for a moment because it's food service group, it's no longer a food service union. They don't have that, they're not represented by the union reps anymore. They are on their own. We met with them a couple of times, and this group hadn't seen a market adjustment like some other groups, and so that was included in this tentative agreement. The group did get together and ratify that tentative agreement, so if you approve it this evening, it would go into place. And I don't know if Director Lokenskar wants to say more.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that it was a good couple meetings. Director Cowett and I were there, along with Director Dixon, and they seemed to be very good at what they did, and I appreciate their open and honesty when it came to, writing up the terms of the new agreement, and I would like to make a motion to consider approval of the master agreement with the food service unit for 23 to
second.
25.
We have a motion and a second. Any additional conversation or questions?
I would really appreciate it if the rest of the groups would go right quickly.
What is this, 20 hours, 45 hours?
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I was just asking what the 20 hours, 45 hours, and 90 hours was for. and he was saying certificates, it sounds like they can do some
Yeah, they did some.
Continuing ed hours.
continuing ed.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other question or discussion? No? We will proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving the master agreement with the food service unit for 2023 to 2025 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We've approved the master agreement. Thank you. All involved. Next up, consider second reading of revisions to the policy manual. Superintendent Gronson.
So we had a really good discussion about this last month. The policy committee met again and we looked over it again. We didn't receive anything further, at least I didn't. I don't know if the other, no. We didn't receive anything further on this, so we are bringing back for a second reading. As a reminder, this makes an adjustment to graduation requirements, possible adjustments for students who are enrolled in an alternative program that is a state-approved program. So that means Rock Bend, Oshawa, credit recovery. Is there another one? No.
Adult basic ed.
Adult basic ed. And it gives some flexibility for those students. It is still above the state minimum requirements, but does offer some flexibility for students who most need it. I don't know if the policy members want to say anything else.
Having heard no further comment from anyone, I would move that we adopt the second reading as a final reading for the graduation requirements for the district.
I'll second that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
As I was rereading it this afternoon, about Algebra 1 and 8th grade requirement. And I get the impression that you have to have satisfactorily passed or proven that you can meet the standards of Algebra 1 and 8th grade. What happens if you don't?
Mrs. Cora, would you like to address that?
So currently they have the Algebra 1 standards divided into two parts. And so our students take the first part for sure in 8th grade, and our advanced students take both parts of Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and then start in with geometry in 9th grade. For the students that either don't meet Algebra 1 requirements or need that second half, the second part of the standard, they get that in 9th grade, just to reinforce that learning and make sure that they definitely have those standards met.
So then that, for those that have to do the second half in 9th grade, that Algebra 1 class counts as one of their credits for math?
That's correct.
See, I don't know that I would understand that reading the policy the way that it's written.
It is difficult because different school districts call math different things.
Right.
So when we have Algebra 1 split into two, the standards, in my understanding from talking with the math department, is that the standards that they're talking about must be met in Algebra 1 are in that 8th grade section. So again, like they're getting just that reinforcement, but you're right, the language is difficult to understand.
So is the second half in excess of what the state requirements are?
For Algebra 1 and 8th grade, yes.
Okay, so are those then standards that would be in the Algebra 2 requirements of the state?
Perhaps some of them. Again, it gets difficult to delineate which, because some schools, previous district I was in had Algebra 3, but the standards in Minnesota statute don't talk about Algebra 3. So every district kind of divides it up a little bit differently. So that would be my assumption.
And everyone has to take algebra 2.
Correct.
Because I was totally confused when I started looking at that. And, you know, at many places it says a student must demonstrate. So how do they demonstrate that they satisfactorily meet the standards? Are we talking tests now?
By passing the class.
Yeah.
Okay.
The assessments in the course.
Okay.
I guess so.
Well, okay. I'm just, it's one math credit is being waived, but it says in the addition here, the state requirements are 3 credits of math, including an algebra 2 credit or its equivalent, sufficient to satisfy all of the academic standards in math. So there's only one math that could be not taken. It would be past algebra 2 level from the regular graduation standards.
Now you confuse
Oh, no.
me even more.
Never mind what I said, just forget it.
Students, normal students are required 4 credits in math.
In
And those
CE.
4 credits have to be taken 9th grade and above.
Correct.
Correct.
Right. So I'm not
Never
worried
mind.
about the
Okay.
standards, cause I know we're requiring
Okay.
one more course.
Okay.
I'm assuming in order to get through those 4 courses, you're gonna get all the standards. And maybe I shouldn't make that assumption,
No,
but that's the way.
yeah, I think that's,
And I notice Kira's shaking her head yes, so she understands it better than I do.
Sounds right to me, whatever you're saying.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, questions?
Where do you find our policies on our school board website?
On the school board page,
under school board and then just, and policies.
Well, I just click the plus and I see meeting agenda and minutes, but maybe if I click on school board?
Oh, she sent out a separate,
Oh, no, I'm just looking like if I was just like a person, like, if I click on school board, okay, thank you.
I'm still not happy that we reduced the bio credits.
that was last year.
Yeah.
I know. I'm not happy.
Sorry. We can talk about it later.
So we do have a motion and a second to approve policy 613, graduation requirements. If there's no other discussion, proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Policy 613 has been approved. Thank you. That's all for the action items. We'll move into informational items. The only one on there right now is first reading of revisions to the policy manual. We've got some other policies to look at.
Yeah,
Always.
You know, just when the policy committee thought the heavy lifting was done, when we got all of those transitioned over to MSBA numbering and model policies, we have now been working through several changes by the legislature in the last session. And so these 3 policies, 506, which is on student discipline, the biggest change in that is not allowing prone restraint. I have to tell you, I don't remember the last time in my career any educator has used a prone restraint. However, it is now officially not okay. And it also talks about the use of non-exclusionary disciplinary practices, which means before a student is suspended or has detention or recess detention, we need to use other means of redirecting behaviors, which honestly we always try to do. Suspension is always the last thing that we want to do. However, this makes it officially in policy and in state law that we use those non-exclusionary as much as possible. I do want to say, if we believe that a student themselves or others are in clear or imminent danger, we are going to take whatever steps that we need to make sure that everyone is safe, and the law allows for that. In policy 601, the school district curriculum and instructional goals, there were some changes this year to World's Best Workforce, specifically the READ Act. And so they've taken out the section on Read Well by Grade 3 from World's Best Workforce, and that's been replaced with the READ Act. So you'll no longer hear us referring to Read Well by Grade 3, because really all along we've believed a student should be at grade level all the way through for reading. And so that language is included in this policy. And there are also some new definitions that address the ethnic studies course as an inclusion, as an elective possibility for our students. We do have some time to put that in place. I believe that goes in place in fall of 2025. But the policy language will support that now. Policy 604, instructional curriculum. Oh, I think I just reversed those. The instructional curriculum is where the new definitions are, and the ethnic studies inclusion, and the personal finance, and the civics. Civics, we've already included those standards. It doesn't say that it has to be a separate course, and we've had those standards built into most of our courses, but we'll be working with our staff just to ensure that we're hitting those standards. We also had a personal finance class as an elective course already, and so the state has not released the standards for that course yet, but we will make sure that we are incorporating all of the standards that are required when that comes out.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Which one was the one that had all the world's best workforce stuff in it?
That's the, so there were different ones. It's included kind of all over. So you'll be hearing other policies coming through that are kind of taking out some of that language, but it was 601 that had the, under instructional goals, that the world's best workforce was included.
And is that language that MSBA has provided, or?
Yes.
Because when I look at that and they talk about the world's best workforce, it almost is like the school board was responsible for creating the world's best workforce. And I think it could be worded better, that.
You're not alone in that. There's been a lot of discussion about world's best workforce ever since it came out, not being the best acronym or the best title for preparing students for the world.
And then the area about, and I'll have to maybe sit down with you guys when we do that, but when you talk about 11th and 12th graders, and they've demonstrated that they've met the standards, and so we encourage them to take college level courses. We're talking about college in the schools, right? We're not saying go off and,
Correct.
Yeah.
All of our students by law have the option of doing PSEO classes, post-secondary educational options, or CIS, college in the schools. Most of our students take college in the schools because they don't want to miss out on
right.
the high school experience. Yeah.
Plus, if they go PSEO, they're taking money away from us, right?
Yeah.
Well, they did change the funding stream
Okay.
on that now, but yeah.
Next up is reports, building principals.
We are. we are missing a couple, so we decided we're going to take a jigsaw approach for tonight. So I'll go ahead and start. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Friday's first professional development day coming up for the school year. So I will kind of outline briefly what will be happening throughout that day. So everyone will start at their individual sites. Each site has a few different things planned for the kickoff right away at the beginning. And then we will follow it up with site-specific, character strong and purposeful people, which is our social emotional learning curriculum that we implemented this year. We did some training at the beginning of the year, and now is a great time to go back and say, okay, we had these plans, how's it going? What do we need to tweak? And then moving forward, what kind of pace can we use? So Jana has been in communication with the rep and has provided some guidance for us in doing that at each one of our sites. And then we will be transitioning to the high school, and we will be hearing from Charmaine Claw and John Warren, and they will be touching on just the Native American culture, some information for teachers, along with the importance of Indigenous Peoples Day. And as you know, Columbus Day has been replaced with Indigenous Peoples Day. So we will also have some planning time then for our staff to, you know, kind of just reflect. What are the things that you have found out? What are the practices that we've had that we need to be really looking at? And going forward, what are the short-term pieces that we can put into effect right away, and what are the areas that we need to be continuing to provide development on, and get our direction of our students understanding in that area. And then we have kind of combined this day along with our United Way fundraiser. So in addition to hearing a little bit from the United Way Foundation from Mankato, we'll also be doing a fundraiser lunch. So Emily Craig has agreed to put together a lunch with all of our proceeds from that event. It's not a free will donation, but everything above and beyond what the costs of the food is will go to the United Way. And then finally, we will end up with K-12, everyone working in their K-12 PLC groups.
I can give an update on food service next. As you know, a free school meals for kids program is well underway. It's been a great success in St. Peter's schools. Emily Craig reports that we have on average 300 additional breakfasts served across the district each day and 250 lunches. And as you might recall, that program provides one free breakfast, one free lunch. Any a la carte items or additional things are paid for separately out of the student's account or through the vending machines at the high school, which she reports is also working quite well for them. So we're excited to hear that. Right now we're serving about 1,700 lunches a day. So that's great news for our kids and families and everyone involved. We do want to continue to collect those free and reduced meal applications. And so those all went out in an August mailing. They're on our website. People may be asking, well, why am I filling that out when we're getting free meals? We just want to remind folks that that generates revenue for the district for Title I and compensatory funding, as well as some technology money. It also provides the data we need to give scholarships for athletics and activities in preschool, so we want people to continue to fill those out. And our class placement for activities and athletics is also placed in our percentage at this point, so we want to make sure we get those in. The due date is October 1st. We're processing those now, and we have a new person doing that. And so what happens is she processes all of those applications, and then that first year we have a second person needing to go through those. So that takes a little bit longer. We are going to be sending out those letters to families, letting them know if they qualify or not. We want people to know if they get that letter that says they don't qualify, their children still eat free breakfast and lunch. So that is going to be a big part of our communication in regards to that. Any questions about food service? All right.
All right. It's hard to believe, but we are almost at midterm already. We are just about halfway through quarter one, I know. So the midterm point is September 27th. And along with that midterm comes parent-teacher conferences. So the high school is hosting parent-teacher conferences on September 27th, and communication about sign-ups has gone out. And then Rock Bend and Oshawa will have conferences on October 4th. K through 8 doesn't have conferences quite yet. They wait until November. So if you're a K-8 parent and you think you missed something, you certainly did not. But it is exciting that we are at that midpoint already. Just a reminder that as you're looking at your child's midterm grades, or if people are talking about midterm grades, those grades do not stay on a transcript. They're not a permanent record. And they are also not calculated into high school GPAs. They're just really a checkpoint so that you can see how your students are doing. So check Infinite Campus and find out how your kids are progressing. And we really encourage families to attend those conferences.
At the K-8 level, we're on day 13, so we're not quite ready for midterms yet. We're getting there. So I'm going to quickly talk about transportation. As you know, we during the pandemic, we shifted from a single-tier transportation structure to a two-tier, meaning like the elementary students were getting picked up in that first round of busing, and then the second round of busing, middle school and high school students were picked up. Well, we switched back to the single tier this year, made some adjustments to our start and end times. And it was a little rocky. At the beginning of the year, it's always takes a little bit of time. The routes are a little slower, for everybody to get the timing down. But just with some communication, some bus passes and things like that. So Mr. Gunseth and I fielded a couple meetings now with Saints Bus leadership and got those worked out. We had a second meeting today, and things are going much better. Communication has really improved a lot. We wanted to check with our families to see how things are going. It sounds generally like they have their bus passes. As you know, all of our students have a bus pass, kindergarten through 12th grade. At our level, like preschool, at South, at North, a little bit at the middle school, like those bus passes come in very handy, especially now as the middle school moved back to a kind of transition point with the transfer and things. When students aren't sure, where they're headed, it's always easy to ask them for the bus tag. It says right there where the bus stop is, what bus they transfer to. So that's been a big help. And Saints Bus has really taken that over, like the bus tags, those passes. And that's helped immensely to get going in the right direction. So we feel like we're headed in the right direction. It was like I said, it was a little rocky going back to that single tier busing, but I think we got the wrinkles ironed out now.
Any questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Superintendent Grunt?
It's my turn. Some of you may have read the article in the Mankato Free Press regarding attendance. And I can't stress enough how important it is that schools, that children attend school regularly. And it kind of adds up faster than one might think. If a student misses just 2 days a month, that's 10% of the school year. So if they miss 2 days a month over the course of a school year, they've actually missed a month worth of school. And if that habit continues or that trend continues throughout their education, they lose almost over a year of school if you missed 2 days a month over the course of their education. And so we really want to stress how important it is for students to be at school every day, all day. And we also understand that in the past few years with COVID, and yes, COVID is still with us. We've had several staff members and students out right now. That those absences are recommended 5 days, and we know that adds up and that contributes a lot, but it's also unavoidable. So we want people to stay home if they're sick, but we also want them here if they're not. And so let's try to really improve our attendance. If you saw the article, you see that St. Peter attendance is actually pretty high compared to some of our neighbors, and we can be proud of that. But we're still not to the levels that we were pre-COVID. So I think maybe some people just got into the habit of staying home once in a while, and we want to curb that choice. So that being said, I did want to mention that COVID has been present. We sent some information home today through email just on what the recommendations are for that. Certainly, we want people to stay healthy, and so if you have tested positive, of course, stay home. Recommendation is for 5 days, and come back as soon as you're feeling better, and fever-free for at least 24 hours. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, and honestly, this makes me so mad. You're right. You've probably never heard that from me before, ever.
Paying attention.
Right? It has to do with our buses and the safety of our students. Far too often, we are seeing vehicles go right by that stop arm as kids are getting on and off the bus. I see it all over town. I get calls from parents who see it, and it's just such a safety concern. That stop arm it's not a recommendation. It's a stop. I do not want a tragedy to happen because people are blowing by the school bus. So please, when you see the flashing lights, when you see the stop arm, please come to a complete stop until that arm is brought back in and the lights go off. That means our students are safe. They may be in a spot that you can't see them in your vehicle. So please, just stop. Okay, that's it. I'm not mad anymore.
Okay, phew.
Just about that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Around the table. Well,
I don't have anything.
Kira, anything else?
I hope
It's
you're
okay,
ready.
you can say no.
I should probably talk about some other stuff. So, Ms. Engeldinger asked if I could talk about like some other stuff that we're having, other cool stuff we're doing at the high school. It's not through student council. So if I could talk about that quick.
Yes,
Sorry.
please.
I was nervous earlier, so I
No,
kind of
that's okay.
my mind.
Don't be nervous. We just talk. It's awesome.
So tomorrow's National Voter Registration Day, so like I'll be there with the Youth Fellows from League of Women Voters, giving presentations on how to pre-register and register to vote, and then also doing other information on voter registration and voting rights in our lunchroom and stuff, as well as giving presentations at Rock Bend and
Very
so
cool.
that's pretty exciting. We also have like some volunteers who are putting on some events, and they decorated our lunchroom for Hispanic Heritage Month, which is also pretty cool and something that we can be proud of as St. Peter, something that we're recognizing. So
Nice.
that's it. Thank you though.
Very
Thank
cool.
you.
Thanks, Gary.
Can't follow that. Good.
I'm speechless.
Oh,
Do you want us to come back to you, or are you?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I'm good. Mr. Cowell.
Well, I'd just like to say welcome to Kira and let you know that there'll be a test on school finance. And
right. Thank you.
no, I really appreciate having students here, and we will call on you during some of our deliberation for your input as far as from a student standpoint, because it's been a long time since I've been a student. So. Other than that, I really appreciated the meeting 2 weeks ago with the city council.
Yeah.
Learned some stuff. And it was very reassuring to hear what Chief Groko had to say about our SRO and what our administration has to say about our SRO. When you hear what's going on in other school districts, it really is comforting to know that we have such an outstanding individual and everyone has confidence in.
From what I know of Kira, she'll pass the test. I have nothing else.
Awesome. All right, we've got some upcoming meetings. The Policy Committee meets next Wednesday, September 27th at 4 p.m. in the district office. The board has a study session Monday, October 2nd at 6:30 p.m. in the Middle School Media Center. Business Committee, potentially Wednesday, October 11th at 4 p.m. in the district office. That date may change, though, we'll communicate that. Education Committee, Friday, October 13th at 8 a.m. in the district office. And then we are right back here on Monday, October 16th for a full board meeting at 6:30 p.m. in this room.
Do we have a specific topic for the study session?
Not yet.
Possibly. It's, well, I wanna present it to the business committee and get their
Okay.
blessing to make it a study session topic.
School finance.
School finance, 101.
And just to make sure we're back here, the sheet says district office, right, for the regular meeting?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
correct. On Monday, October 16th. Thank you.
We're here.
The governor's room.
Yes.
Yes, it says deal, but we'll,
Yeah, let's not do that.
good catch.
It's not enough seating.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.